Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I running back 16 back to biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show live on Facebook at Martin Houston Live. Also, Martin Houston Live on YouTube, as well as Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, and I am glad to be with you. We got a great show lined up for you, but before we get into that, I want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Go be great and make a difference. Before get things started, as I said, we got a great show lined up. We're going to have a little deal, no deal. Of course, we'll have recruiting guru Hank South with us today. Some Nick Saban audio, still talking depth chart, and matchups and key things. But before we get into any of that on a much more somber note, last night as I was going to bed, I got a text that one of my former coaches at Alabama, one of the coaches from the 92 national championship game, passed away last night, yesterday, Coach Jim Fuller. So I want to send out my condolences to him and his family. Joe, do you know much about Coach Fuller?
No, you'll probably have to fill in the uneducated like myself.
Yeah, Jim Fuller was the offensive line coach for the 1992 national championship team. Unbelievable. He was the glue. You know how you have people who are the glue, and they're not the ones that anyone talks about, but everybody in the program knows that if it wasn't for them, things would have went off the rails. That was Coach Fuller. He was head coach at Jacksonville State, national championship winning head coach, if I'm not mistaken. But he coached for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he was the one that kind of kept the bridge and held things together between the Perkins and Stallings era. Man, God, we love that guy. I mean, it's he was a player's coach, fun, easy to get along with, but man, like I said, he didn't coach my position, but he was he was one of the ones that early on in my career, Joe, he pulled me aside and he said, "Congratulations, man." He said, it was so funny. He said, "We watched you on film, and you've heard the intro to my from Coach Dye, right? Where Coach Dye said that Auburn looked at me and said, I'm not sure if you're fast enough, right? You're not quite fast enough. Well, Alabama looked at me and he said the debate when they were recruiting me was whether or not I would be physical enough. And I'll never forget the day he said, I thought you were just good because you were big. You were bigger than everybody, but I helped convince them to take a chance on you. And with that chance, of course, I was able to get here uh, and was able to become actually known for being physical when that was the biggest question mark. But he was that type of coach that took time to get to know you personally. And I mean, I could go on and on about him, but unbelievable glue. Like I said, I think he was so instrumental, Joe, because it, when Bill Curry was hired, um, you know, there was a lot of people questioning whether or not that was the right move or not. He helped us all be able to maintain and stay and hang in there. So maybe we get some more information, get some of the linemen to come on and talk about him. But what a great guy, great family. 76 years old. Coach Jim Fuller, former Jacksonville State head coach, athletic director at Jacksonville State, and of course he played here. I mean, coached here at the University of Alabama. So, like I said, you sometimes forget some of those guys um, that that played a major role uh, in the history of Alabama. I'm sorry, just tough because, like I said, I literally found out last night. Um, as I was going to bed, so I hadn't had a chance to really soak it all in. But um, maybe do some type of dedication for him later. But anyway, uh, let's continue. Please remember Coach Fuller. If you have any Coach Fuller stories you'd like to share them, you're welcome to call us at 205-342-9904 on the Taco Casa hotline, and we'll air those things. But I thought it was ironic, Joe, that part of our conversation you and I had before was about offensive line and their role in football, period, but especially in terms of what happens at Saturday's game. Alabama has a brand new offensive line, one starter in the same spot, two returning starters overall, and Miami has an unbelievable arrangement of starting linemen. And you actually had a chance to, by the way, congratulations. A glass ceiling broke yesterday, right, Joe?
Yeah, a little personal milestone. Got in on the Saban Zoom for the first time.
Yeah, and if you've never, I'm gonna tell you, if you've never been in a press conference with Saban, it can be a little nerve wracking when they call on you to ask the question. I've not asked one of him when I've been in those few press conferences I've been in, but I can feel the pressure for the guys who do. So, kind of walk us through, Joe. How much of a heads up did you have before you got your question, and did you get to ask your original question, or did you have to pivot because someone asked a question before you got to ask yours?
No, and that's been one of my big fears of clicking to raise my hand in these press conferences. Oh, what if somebody asked the question I had in my head? What do I do? How do I pivot? Do I have enough information or
Right.
to pivot? But about a second or third question into the press conference, my thought came to me, so I was like, I'm gonna take a chance and click to raise my hand, and I realized later, towards the tail end, Josh Maxson said, "Oh, we got time for two more." And I said, "Well," in my head, I said, "Oh, you're getting in for sure." So I started rehearsing my question in my head a bunch of times, and I'll tell you, I had an intern on the Zoom call, and the intern wrote about the Bama wide receivers. And I thought when she said she wanted to write about the receivers, I thought, did he talk about that? When did he talk about that? And when I went back and listened to the press conference, it was like right before my question, and I sent her a text message back and said, "I'm sorry, but I totally spaced out on him talking about that because I was practicing my question."
Now, let me tell you, I've done that interviewing someone, Joe, before, where you get so caught up because they one statement is said and it gets you thinking, and you're all into that, that next question, and then you ask the question in the worst time, and it hasn't happened to me yet, but I've heard it happen to interviewers, and you realize they were ready for that next question, and the coach just answered it, and they didn't get it. So, well, that didn't happen to you last night. What was the big question you had, Joe, for Coach Nick Saban?
Well, Martin, I actually wanted to ask it to you in our first Deal or No Deal.
Okay. Well, do you want to? Hey, you want to hold that to the other side when we come out of break? We can tie it in together that way.
Perfect, Martin. That sounds perfect.
All right, and I'll give my response, and then we'll see if I'm in line with the coach, because I have not heard his response. So we'll do that on the other side. And just as we go to break here, Coach Jim Fuller, as I said, former coach at the University of Alabama, passed away last night. Unbelievable part of the University of Alabama. He was head coach and athletic director at Jacksonville State, won a national championship there. He was the offensive line coach for Alabama from 1984 to 1996, and part of the 92 national championship team, and also was a part of Coach Bryant's team 1964, a part of that program as well. And so, as pretty good group of players that he was part of there. But that's Coach Jim Fuller. We want to send out our condolences to him and his family, and wishing them peace and comfort during this time of loss and bereavement. So thank you, Coach Fuller. Probably didn't say enough when you were alive, but thank you, Coach Fuller, for the impact you had on my life, and I know on many of my teammates and many other young men. So remembering Coach Jim Fuller this morning, who passed away on yesterday. Come back on the other side. We'll continue our show right here on the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.
Sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The original Peloton bike offers more motivation.
Great job, team!
70% of members say they work out more now with Peloton than before. Get game-changing cardio at a new game-changing price. The original Peloton bike, now $400 less. Learn more at onepeloton.com.
Walk-On athletes put everything they've got into the game. Walk-On Sports Bistro puts everything we've got into bringing you game day with a taste of Louisiana. Over 70 big-screen TVs, mouth-watering Louisiana cuisine, po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers and fresh salad.
Made from scratch with ingredients you can't help but
McRae. Now open in Tuscaloosa, 6785 Skyland Boulevard. Walk-ons.com. Walk-On Sports Bistro. More than a restaurant.
At Target, we know there are a lot of firsts when it comes to going back to school. First impressions, first chapters, first day photos. So with easy and safe ways to shop like order pickup, drive up, and school list assist, make Target your first stop back to school.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A very dry air mass settles in here today. The sky sunny. Tuscaloosa's high 87. Humidity values noticeably lower. Clear, very pleasant tonight. Below 62. Tomorrow and Saturday, the sky mostly sunny both days. Highs between 87 and 90. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 73 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomore Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialty, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at southmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9, and got a little deal, no deal coming up, but wanted to also going to have Hank South 247 Sports kick off the second half. We're reminding you that we're talking about remembering Coach Jim Fuller, and I made it sound like he was a coach on the 64 team, but he was a player in 64, Coach Bryant's second national title. And he was a coach on the 92 team. He spanned the career of Perkins, Curry, and Stallings, 1984 to 1996. So I like to refer to him as the glue that helped hold things together from Coach Bryant till Franchione. And then we know what happened after no, I'm just kidding. Maybe that is what happened, because we know we went on some rough times from the Franchione era up until Shula landed in Tuscaloosa. So had some turbulent times there. All right, Joe, I toss it over to you for a little deal, no deal.
Martin, we got a couple days left until Alabama takes on Miami. I got 3 or 4 questions for some deal or no deal today, and I'm going to selfishly start with what I asked Coach Saban last night. I want to hear your perspective on it. The University of Miami returns all 5 starting offensive linemen from last year, and they return a collective of 190 offensive starts amongst them. Deal or no deal, the matchup between the Miami offensive line and the Alabama defensive line will be the key matchup to determine who wins the game on Saturday.
Oh man, 5 returning starters, 190 starts, definitely the most for this season, and according to some, a record for returning starts. Alabama's boasting the fact that we may return as that dominant, tough, hard-nosed defense that Bama fans love to cheer on. So I'm going to say the fact that Nick Saban, a couple weeks ago said we had 8 or 9 defensive linemen and could jump up to 9, 10, or 11 based on dropping Will Anderson and Christian Allen and those guys down into the box. I'm going to say that's the matchup that goes into most games as the key, but definitely one of the key matchups you need to be watching on Saturday. So, Deal, if that Miami offensive line with 190 starts, people, think about that, between their returning starters, is able to have some success against Alabama, keep them off De'Aaron King, get some success in the running game, it makes this game a lot more interesting. So, Deal.
Yeah, I'm with you, Martin. I think that my biggest concern, if Alabama's defense if Alabama's defense can get this, you can keep out Miami off, off the scoreboard, then I feel very confident about winning and winning big. But if Miami's offense can keep up with Alabama's offense, then I think we might be in for a very interesting ball game. So I think getting pressure and being able to at least neutralize the Miami offensive line, allowing our linebackers to kind of do their thing, I think is very important.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Joe. I know we talk about defense. Greatest defense I've ever seen. You know what the greatest defense I've ever seen is? An offense that can keep the ball.
Keep up, yeah, exactly. Keep the ball.
And
If they can't keep, if Alabama get, if Bryce Young, he was asked this on Monday, do you want the ball first or what? He played it off. Oh, that's a saving question. But if we get the ball first and score 7-0, Miami goes 3 and out because the Alabama's defense is so strong. And then we get the ball again and score 14. You got to be able to keep up with Alabama,
right,
to stay in the ball game.
Yeah, and so that defense is so. And when you think about that, what would be your approach if you were to Miami? I'm throwing you a deal, no deal. I know in the mix of this, but it made me think about it. Manny Diaz, you're calling the plays, you're calling the sideline, you get the ball first. Do you come out and try to strike with a big play, or do you try to use that big offensive line, 5 starters, 190 starts in their careers, to maybe establish some physicality against Alabama, and maybe have a drawn out drive and slow the game, or not slow the game, slow the game down offensively, yet speed it up by running the ball and using De'Aaron King's legs as much as you do his arm to keep that Alabama offense on the field and limit their possessions.
I think, oh man. The danger of trying to go for big plays is, you take a shot down the field on 1st and 10.
Yeah.
And now you miss it. You're at 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
What do? You run the ball, and now you're at 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 8. I think, man, it depends on what you have schemed up. Red Lashley and his offensive. Nick Saban's a little bit familiar with. It depends on what you have schemed up, and if you think that you've got if you feel like your timing is good, like you remember Lane Kiffin when he felt like his timing was good, he was calling touchdowns on the sideline before the snap happened.
Right.
But, so it just depends on how well you feel like your timing is going, your rhythm as a play caller. I think to open the game, Martin, I'd probably come out try to play conservative. I'd probably make it my goal to get 4 yards of play. And
Yeah.
if we got 5 or if we got 6 yards of play, then go Canes in that case. But I think it'd be my goal to plan on getting 3 to 4 yards of play.
Absolutely. It'd be to Miami, it'd be much better for them to have a 9-10 play drive, establish some physicality, and still score than it would for them to come out and get a big play, because a big play can be a fluke. A big play can be a missed assignment. You come out and run a 10-play drive on someone and execute, you get in that defense's head. So I'd be coming out. And it also frustrates that offense, especially if you're able to duplicate that on a couple drives. So I toss it back to you once again to complete that circle on that deal, no deal question.
Well, number 2, my number 2 deal or no deal. Most of these, actually, I'm going to be honest, are inspired by the Nick Saban press conference last night as I was driving in. I thought, what did he say that was interesting? Number 2, we've got we're playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium this weekend. So deal or no deal, with 100% capacity, the Alabama football team and Miami it will be a major adjustment for both teams to play in front of a full house, as neither and no one played in front of a full house last season.
Adjustment, it'll be different, I think, probably for some of the high school guys who played last year or the high school guys who've never played. But for the vets, that they'll be okay. But it will, I'm gonna tell you, it will probably, Joe, seem like, even if it's not for all of the players involved, it will probably seem like the loudest game they've ever played in. I it will. I can tell you, I'm not sure that Auburn Stadium was the loudest stadium I ever played in, but it seems like it was when we played there in '89 because the people there were so excited to have that game back in for the first time in Miami. And I think you're going to have some of that type of excitement and adrenaline from the fans, at least early on when the game is still 0-0 and competitive. So it will be I think it's going to be, for the players, it will be so exciting and so fun. And those who are able to mentally focus and stay on task during that loudness will be absolutely the team that walks away with the victory.
So I think it's going to be an interesting adjustment. We'll have to see how our players handle it. It'll be fun. We'll wrap it up here since I know we're getting close to Hank South right here. I got a real simple one going into the NFL week in 2 weeks. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, and Tua Tagovailoa will all be starting, at least as of today and in this moment. Will all be starting for the Alabama for their respective NFL teams. I want to focus on the AFC East, Martin, where Tua and Mac Jones are playing for the Dolphins and the Patriots. Deal or no deal, even though the Buffalo Bills made it all the way to the AFC Championship game last year and won the AFC East and have quarterback Josh Allen, who is 25 years old. Deal or no deal, it will be Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones running the AFC East and not Josh Allen and Zach Wilson from the other two teams.
You talking about this year or
just over the next handful of years?
I
Now it's 4 quarterbacks all under the age of 25.
Isn't that crazy that you're gonna get to see? I mean, you potentially could be looking at the best 4 quarterbacks combined in a conference ever. I mean, if they all mature at the rate you're expecting, 2 first-time guys, 1 rookie, and then the vet is Josh Allen. I'm gonna say that it's gonna be one of those 2 guys that wore the Crimson Tide. Even though the Bills, I think, are gonna be there as well. I think that New England and Miami both will do. They appear, if they continue to do what they're doing, continue to spend the resources, Joe, to keep getting better. I think ultimately New England and Miami will find themselves back at the top of that division, even though they're going to have to go through Buffalo to get there. So, absolutely, without a doubt. So, deal. It'll be one of those 2 guys. So, thanks, Joe. That was interesting questions there on deal, no deal. You're always able to bring deal, no deal questions in. We're going to get the break, but before I do that, I just want to make sure I tie in a couple comments from the O-line conversation, Joe, and then we'll quickly get out of here. Curtis Moore II said it's a lot of starts for that Miami O-line that we were talking about earlier, but it was mostly against ACC competition, and we all know the ACC is down these days. I'm going to tell you, though, it may be against ACC competition. Don't forget, Landon Dickerson was one of those guys who was starting against ACC competition. And, Joe, will we say that Landon Dickerson could have played on any Alabama team in the history of Alabama football? So don't even though the ACC may be down, when you get that type of experience and that many starts, you become a better football player. And Miami's offensive line may get destroyed, but that doesn't mean that they weren't good. And Curtis Lewis brings up something, and we probably need to talk about this young man at some point as we move throughout the season. A hidden star of this game for me would be defensive tackle Jamar Latham, Pickens County. This kid reminds me of Quinnen Williams. I love Jamar Latham, and he's one of those guys that I have said that we probably don't give as much love, Joe, because he's a local kid. He's an Alabama kid. But I've heard a lot of good things about him, and he may be the most athletic guy of the kind of a Brian Ray type of player, but hopefully he can stay healthy. We know what type of potential Brian Ray has, but hadn't got to see it, and maybe we'll see that out of Latham. Coming back on the other side, we will continue our conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show, and we'll be bringing Hank South into the conversation. If you got a recruiting question for him, give us a call, 205-342-9904 on the Taco Casa hotline.
100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, got a report of a major wreck on US 82 westbound between Buell and the Pickens County line. All lanes are blocked westbound. We also have a minor wreck on US 11 southbound near County Road 55 en route. If you see other conditions, give us a call. It's a new month with brand new deals at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
At Hannah's Organic Honey, business may be sweet, but they need an e-commerce queen bee to lead the hive.
Okay, these jars are going to Jakarta. Oh, wait a minute. Does that say Jackson?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hey, Martin, you're hot in 3, 2, 1. I'm putting Hank on hold.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show, and man, we know where it all starts in Tuscaloosa, and that is with recruiting, and no one does it better than Coach Nick Saban, and no one does it better on the reporting side than Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. So he joins us every Thursday to break down the latest in Alabama Crimson Tide recruiting. And I told him last week to be ready to give me a little bit of a heads up on basketball. So we'll try to work that in. But let's get right to it. Hank, give us an update. Any news, any movement, or anything in terms of the Alabama Crimson Tide on the recruiting front? Are you there with me, Hank?
I had him. He's passed through.
Is he still there?
Thank you, us there.
Yep.
Let me, Martin.
Well,
let me
you want
check him out on hold. I had him with us, and we'll check back with you.
that's fine. Well, speaking of recruiting, as we were going to break there, we were talking about a young man that most Bama fans, a lot of Bama fans, have not had much to say about and don't know much about, but that is Jamar Latham. I think he's going to be one of those breakout Alabama defensive linemen. But looking at the depth chart for Alabama, they have some special players there. Well, hey, listen, I think we got Hank back. Let's try that. And if we got Hank back, we'll get back on that other conversation. Welcome back, Hank. Are you with us? I still don't hear him.
Yeah, I don't hear him either, and I'm not real sure what the deal is. I'm gonna.
But okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Hey, how you doing, sir? Oh.
I'm not real sure. Hank texted me. He said there's something going on with our system here.
Yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead. I know that Pat's holding for Hank, but we can bring Pat in and still start some conversation with him. So and you work on getting Hank there. Let's see if Pat, are you there?
Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Pat. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Pat, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Oh yeah, go for it. Can you hear us?
I can't hear Martin.
Hey, there's gremlins in the system.
Hang up and see if you can get Hank.
No, don't hang up. I think I spotted the problem.
You don't have to hang up, Pat. So, but can you hear me, Pat? Yeah. Hey, listen. Technology is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but when it decides it want to act up, hey, we make it work here. As I was saying, we'll Joe, you just let me know when we get those guys back on when they can hear and I can hear, and we'll go through that. But
I think you can, based on what I'm looking at my board, but I must be having a problem that's unseen.
It's showing both sides audio moving.
Yep. Go for it, Pat. Go for it, Hank. I think I've got you both situated.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Hank. Can you hear us there?
I can hear you all, yeah.
Okay. All right. My question is are we going to be able to get Curtis Perry in this class out of Montgomery? He's got real video numbers. No, he's not the 6'5" defensive lineman that we're looking for, but these numbers are absolutely incredible. And are we going to be able to get him, or is he going to the boners? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not as confident now as I was earlier. Like you just said, he's not that kind of that size they're looking for on the defensive line. But yeah, his production's insane. You can't really overlook that. So I think he's still certainly in the mix for the defensive line. But I don't think it's as much of a sure thing as it maybe once was. A few months back.
Okay. Well, Hank, I appreciate what you're doing for us, and I know Martin does it as well. And Mr. Houston, you have a blessed day, and thank y'all for taking my call this morning. Okay.
Thank
you.
Thank.
Have a great one. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate that. Curtis Perry, an Alabama kid. What about Walter Nolan? I see that he's making a little noise about seeing Alabama a couple times this year. So, where does Alabama stand with the nation's number one recruit in Walter Nolan?
Yeah, still right there in the mix. He caused some some conversation. I guess a week ago, when he dropped his top three, he didn't include Alabama or Florida.
Correct.
He put out a list that included Georgia, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. And then the next day he came out and said his recruitment was still wide open and that he was going to commit when he got 11,000, I think, Instagram followers. So kind of all over the place, but Alabama is still obviously in the mix. He's still going to take an official visit to Tuscaloosa for the LSU game here in a couple months, and then he was obviously on campus in June as well, and he was at A-Day. So he's very familiar with Alabama. They're not out of it by any means, even though he didn't include them in his top three. So I feel like every couple of weeks there's this new storyline with Walter Nolan. At the beginning of the summer, he was trending to Florida, and then Michigan was making some noise, and then Texas A&M as of late has kind of jumped into it more. So kind of just depends on when. I think he's going to make. I'm not sure he's actually going to make a decision when he says he is. As far as the Instagram followers thing, he also said in June that he was shutting down his recruitment and about to announce a choice, and of course he didn't do that. So I could see this kind of being drug out all the way until signing day. So right there in the mix, it's hard to make a prediction on it though.
Yeah. Hey, Hank, these young men are learning to play the game. He's using he when he makes that commitment, he has to be ready for that name, image, and likeness payout. So he needs to get his followers up so that he can get a little love on the name, image, and likeness forefront. Hey, the Alabama has so much talent. Just came off the number one recruiting class in the country. Still sitting in the top 5 with what they have. Who are the guys that are on that radar that's planning to make the trip over to Atlanta? Have you got that? You guys working on that list?
Yeah, and there's going to be a bunch. I think guys are going to show up. That we don't fully expect it. It's such a hotbed of talent. They can make that trip pretty easily. But the big names, Earl Little Jr. obviously Bama's probably top defensive back target or one of the top defensive back targets from South Florida. He's planning on making the trip up. It was kind of interesting. His dad obviously played for Miami, so but he's saying Bama's his leader. Has been saying that for a while. So another sort of visit for him, but seeing Bama play in person obviously isn't going to hurt. The top recruit in 2023, LT Overton, he's planning on being there. He's obviously in Georgia already, so not too tough of a trip for him. The top defensive lineman in the nation for the class of 2024 tweeted last night that he was coming. T.A. Cunningham, so he'll be in attendance. The guy from Georgia as well, and then I think you could expect a good number of commits to show up. Jake Pope, already in Georgia. Emmanuel Henderson, he plans on going up. Cody Prentice. Elijah Brown's actually making the trip down from Ohio. So a bunch of guys. And I was actually told, and I haven't confirmed with him yet, so I haven't put him on the list, but Jaleel Skinner is another guy that I heard might be there on Saturday afternoon. But that's also something we're watching because he's supposed to be taking an official visit to Florida State this weekend, but it's 3-day weekend, so he can get there on Saturday night as well. So that's another guy just to keep an eye out for. Maybe he shows up for the game in Atlanta as well.
Speaking with Hank, South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, Curtis Moore had a question. Any update, or is Alabama still in the hunt for Texas? I think DB Denver Harris.
Yeah, Bama's, it is another one that this month we're kind of keeping an eye out for him. He made a announcement last week that he might put out his decision on September 22nd. So So that's kind of a date we've loosely circled as far as the decision. It kind of reminds me of Kool-Aid McKinstry last year. All throughout September there was supposed to be a decision date, and then went through September, then October. He finally announced the end of October. But I think Denver Harris is getting closer and closer. But I think Bama's in really good shape for him. He has a top 4 right now: Bama, LSU, A&M, and Texas. But I think it's really Bama versus LSU, and maybe Texas still a little bit in the mix for him. But Bama's been trending for him as of late. He's got a very close relationship with Bama's new cornerbacks coach Jay Valai, who that kind of translated over from Valai's time at Texas. Now at Alabama, they know each other. Carl Scott really kind of laid the foundation there at North Shore High School. Bama's landed guys there before: Jaden Roberts, Damian George. So certainly familiarity there with the high school program and Alabama. But I think Bama's in good shape with Denver Harris. Whenever he announces, if he continues to drag it out and maybe wait longer and longer, maybe other schools stay in the mix. But I think as of right now, Bama's in a good spot.
Speaking with Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, have you seen or any of the recruits talked any about the impact Sarkisian, is having potentially in recruiting, or do you see any of that effect of Sarkisian making some inroads to some potential Bama targets in Texas?
Yeah, they've been. It's kind of been up and down. I feel like Sarkisian got to Texas and earlier this year, and they kind of just hit a stride, and they got Evan Stewart committed. They had Blue committed, Ruben Owens, all these big names, and they kind of stalled out a little bit, slowed down. They didn't really get many guys. And as of the last week or so, they picked it back up, and they got a bunch of defensive linemen committed. They have Bo Davis as their defensive line coach, so that's been a big plus. But as far as mutual Alabama Texas target, it really doesn't feel too much different yet. I think it's going to take a season under their belt to for these kids to see what they're actually going to do. He got Texas and was still riding that momentum of that national championship game. I felt like all the Texas targets were tweeting about how great the offense looked for Alabama, and now that was going to be at Texas. So I think that excitement kind of faded a little bit, and I think now it's more about what are they actually going to do this season. So I think recruits are watching it, but as far as impact, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's this wave of momentum that Texas is riding right now, and maybe that changes if they start winning some games. But guys like Evan Stewart, Amari Abor, Denver Harris, I think Bama still holds the edge for guys like that. Maybe not as much Evan Stewart, but I think Bama's still in very good position with those mutual guys.
Okay. Anything else on the football front before I ask you a question or two on the basketball front?
No, the 2023 period just opened up where coaches can contact kids in the class of 2023 for the first time. That starts every September 1st. So the staff's been busy, reaching out to the 2023 target all day yesterday. So we'll see probably more offers go out there, more interest pick up there. And now it's been a long time, but coaches can actually get back out on the road now too. So we'll probably see. I'm not sure how prevalent it's going to be, with COVID and everything still, but we'll be able to see coaches travel to high school games again, which we haven't seen that since early 2020, or we haven't seen that since the 2019 season, really, high school season. So that's going to be a big deal for eval as well. So that's kind of where we're at there. And then this weekend, obviously, and then next week, we'll see some visitors return to campus with the dead period lifted.
Yeah, and now that we're hitting the 2023, we'll have to find out a little bit more detail on where Bama stands with LT Overton, and we'll get to that next week. But any update? It seems like the last couple of years, Alabama basketball has been in the news on the recruiting front, leading the way. Seems to be kind of quiet this year. Any updates you can share with the faithful Bama fans on the hardwood?
Yeah, it seemed like this time last year when things were starting kind of to pick up for the Bama's right there in the mix for a lot of guys. We're seeing a lot of top schools lists come out. And Bama's included a lot of them. One of note recently that I think one of our 24/7 sports analysts said they feel Bama's in a great position for him, Brandon Jenkins. His name was Rylan Griffin. He's a shooting guard from Texas. He put Bama, I think it was in his top 3 or 4. But Bama seems like it's in. He said he believes Bama's in good shape there for a guy named Rylan Griffin. And then there's the big name guys we're still kind of keeping an eye on: Jaden Bradley, Darius Walker, 2 5-star prospects in the class. Brandon Miller, obviously the Bama legacy. So kind of right there on the cusp of a lot of guys. I think Bama will. We'll see them hit their stride eventually. And I think certainly, if they have the season they're expected to have, I think that'll only help.
All right. That's Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, if you would tell our listeners where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. $1 for your first month. So certainly a fun time to join with the game just a couple days away. And then my Twitter is @HankSouth247. All
right. We'll catch up with Hank next week and get an update maybe on some of those 2023 guys and also break down what the guys' experience was being back in person to see the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Georgia Dome. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Coming back on the other side, we'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show with the Alabama One Insurance 2-minute warning.
Good morning. $3.3 billion in water infrastructure improvements in northern Tuscaloosa County. That's what was approved by the County Commission yesterday unanimously. The funds will be allocated to 3 water associations in rural parts of District 1. The funds are part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which can be used for providing government services or making necessary investments in infrastructure. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free 24 hours a day. I'm Don Hartley.
Do you suffer from lower back pain, knee pain, foot pain, or fallen arches? Do you? If yes, just stop and write this magic word, G-Defy, G-D-E-F-Y. What is G-Defy? G-Defy is the footwear designed by Gravity Defier Medical Technology with the worldwide patented VersoShock sole. Their shoes are clinically shown to relieve pain by a double-blind clinical study conducted by Olive View UCLA Medical Center. You can try a pair for 30 days with free corrective fit orthotic inserts. If you're not satisfied, just return the shoes for a full refund and keep the free orthotics as a gift. Put an end to suffering. Save $20 and get free shipping from Gravity Defier when you go to gdefy.com/radio and use code RADIO. That's gdefy.com/radio, code RADIO. You have nothing to lose but your pain.
Indeed helps you hire great people fast. Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into the Alabama One Insurance 2-minute warning, alabama1insurance.com, where you can review your rates and your policies, reduce your rates, and you can relax knowing that you are properly covered. So let's go check them out, alabama1insurance.com, alabama1insurance.com. Joe, we had a couple good topics we hit on today. Of course, that offensive line is going to be facing what I believe may be one of Saban's deepest teams on the defensive front in a while. And so that's going to be the matchup to watch when you look at defensive end Justin Eboigbe, Phil Mathis, Jamil Burrows. At defensive end on one side, Phil Mathis, Byron Young, LeBron Ray, Jamar Latham on the other side, nose guard, DJ Dale, Tim Smith, and Stephen Wynn Jr., all guys that I believe and according to Coach Saban, all of these guys can play winning football, Joe, and that's what it's going to take, I think, Joe, to win this matchup against that stout 5 returning starters, 190 starts, because we can wear them out through rotation. I don't know that we'd have the advantage if it was, our 3 or 4 deep. I mean, our 5 or 6 deep versus their 5. But with the rotation, we definitely have an advantage. I didn't kick it back to you, but I will at this time. Who do you have winning that matchup?
Well, I think you're on to something with the depth, the Alabama defensive depth, be able to throw a bunch of guys out there. I think that the Alabama defensive front wins the matchup. I think that you can have experienced guys, and Miami certainly does, but they were still middle of the road in run offense and pass protection last season. So you can get a bunch of average guys, a lot of experience. They're still average guys. And they're probably improved on average. But I'm going to go with the Alabama defensive front because I think we have exceptional talent and deeper depth.
Yeah, hey, I got this, and let's hold this for tomorrow. Let's let our listeners think about this, chew on this for a little bit. With all of that talent up front, and with Will Anderson, Drew Sanders, Christopher Allen, and on the other side, as far as the outside linebackers, Christian Harris, Will Anderson, Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, Deontay Lawson. Who gets the first sack? Just hold on to that. Who gets the first sack? Will it be an interior lineman? Will it be one of those other guys from the outside linebacker position? Maybe even a middle linebacker blitz or a cornerback blitz. Who gets the first sack against Miami and De'Aaron King? That'll be part of the question we have for you on tomorrow. We'll also be looking at keys to victory. We'll look around the SEC for the other key matchups. As far as the SEC and maybe the nation, we'll hit a couple of those games on tomorrow as well. It's going to be a great show. So I want to invite you to make sure that you make plans to be back with us on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Thanks for being a part of the show. All the callers, listeners, viewers, chatters. Thanks to my guest. Thanks to Joe, my producer. Thank you, team, for the Martin Houston Show. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.
You too, man.
Hey, I'm sorry about that.